Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the spring 2021 version of the Sport Finance course, SMT 456. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Dr. Tom Abbott. I will be the instructor for this course. And I thought what we could do to get started here is maybe just go through a few things about the course, maybe a little bit about the topic, and a little bit about me, and then look for how things are going to work in these first few days as we get started in this completely online asynchronous course. And maybe I should start with that concept right there. Because we're not going to campus with this course at all, this is what we definitely call a fully online course. It's going to be treated as such. It is totally asynchronous. There is no set class time that will be required. Occasionally, we may do some video office hours, or if folks request it and want to do it, we can do maybe a video chat or something like that, but there won't be any formal scheduled class sessions that appear online. So the schedule is going to be very flexible on a day-to-day basis, but of course there's going to be deadlines and timeframes, and you'll understand how that happens. And one thing I'm going to do this week is actually do, as you can see when you get into it, there's a little assignment in there that's not so much an assignment to see what you know, it's an assignment to see what you remember from the past or maybe have learned or not learned, and we'll discuss that in a minute. So again, welcome. We are, as of this recording, a fairly large group, 19 students, and it's going to require a lot of attention, a lot of making sure that we pay attention to what's going on, stay up, don't let things build up and then try to do things to the last minute. All that standard stuff anybody would tell you whether we're in a course or not. So consider this as if it was the opening day and I was up in front of the classroom. So, sport finance, what's it all about? Well, I'm going to guess that the majority of you folks at the 400 level in sport management course are sport management majors. And we will assume also that as sport management majors, you have an interest in being part of a sport management organization as your career goal. But I think the key word there is organization. And as any organization goes in today's world, it's going to be, to a large degree, dependent on its ability to do business, to be an economic entity, and to actually manage itself well. And that's really what this course is all about. Now, when I talk about finance, the reason we've called it finance, let me give you a little bit of an idea of where I come from and how I look at things. I come from a finance background, but not in the world of, corporate finance, Wall Street, stocks and bonds and deal making and things like that. I come from a corporate background in operational finance and running companies, running organizations. I also come from an education background where for the last 10 years I was a department chair at another university. Before that, I was consultant to many different universities. And all the while I was at my last university before I retired, I was an assistant tennis coach for both men's and women's tennis at a Division II school. So I became very intimately involved in the world of college sports, which has always been an interest of mine, and probably right now I'd have to say is my primary of research interest. So I've got a long background in sports, going all the way back to being besides a little kid, I was a student athlete, like many of you will be, and I'm sure in this class, and at a fairly large, fairly big time school, and played soccer. Been coaching soccer, coaching tennis, playing competitive tennis for over 50 years. Full disclosure may come out as we look at things. I'm a New York Giants fan. I'm a Boston Celtics fan. Follow pro sports. Probably followed college hockey more than any other because I'm a Boston College grad, and I'd like to take credit for them being the number one team in the nation this week at college hockey. It's a really, really big part of my life, sport. Now, why do I bring up those little anecdotal things? Simply because they show you how we can get carried away right away. When we look at sport and sport management, and particularly the issues that we're going to look at in sport finance, It's remembering to take the hat off that says sports fan and putting the hat on that says sports business person. And that sometimes is a little difficult. But one of the things we have to be careful of, we have to do that because sometimes if we don't take that sports fan hat off, we're not going to make the right rational decisions. And finance is about decision making as much as anything else. It's about decision making, understanding risk, managing risk. It's more than just money. It's more than just dollars and cents. So the way I view finance, the world of finance, is if we had on one side of a spectrum accounting, right? That's where we get all our data from, the science of accounting, the skills of accounting. And over here we have the social science of economics, where we talk about the conditions, the environment that we all do business in or run our organization in. Well, the two come together in the middle in this world of finance, where we're putting these concepts together. So our job is to put these finance concepts to work as they come together in the sport world. And that's what we'll be doing. So we'll be doing it in a number of ways. We'll be looking at it in a bunch of different concepts. So be prepared. We will go back and do a little review of accounting procedures if needed. We'll do a little review of finance procedures if needed. And that first assignment I just mentioned is for you to go in and literally tell me what your background is. Not so much in terms of the introduction, but into that assignment. So I have kind of a database where I know where we stand, finding out where we're at, because it's going to govern the first week or two of how we go into the class. That's why you'll only see what I'm billing as Unit 1 right now, because I have several different avenues we could follow, but they will depend on what people's backgrounds are in business, accounting, finance, and economics. The sport part, I think we've got down, so that's going to be important. So what do I want to try to do? I want to try to present to you a course that actually provides what I call news you can use. This is the things you'll be using in your sport career, many sooner rather than later. We will cover things like budgeting. We will cover big issues like financing in the sport enterprise. We'll cover some more mundane stuff like time value of money. And then we'll start looking at economic concepts and how we put them back together and put the whole thing together. So each week, each group of, I say group, I'm kind of grouping weeks, and my concept is to do it in 2-week bites. Each unit, we're going to come in and we're going to look at a different concept where we may spend time on both the finance side of it and then work in the sport side. So what you'll see frequently as we go through the course is I tend to add things. So what you see on a first Monday morning of a new unit, it'll probably be bigger by the end of the unit. Why? Because sport things are going on all the time. And particularly as we fight through the hopefully last stages of the pandemic, we're going to still see changes, and sport is going to be required to do things differently still week to week to week. And it really has affected the business of sports in some really, really unpredictable and unforeseen ways. And yet I think the sports world has provided a guide for a lot of people on how businesses can be flexible in their response to unforeseen conditions. And those are things that we're going to cover. So in this first week, I'd really like you to do the following things. 1, introduce yourself. We have a discussion template put in there for you. Introduce yourself, get to know who we are, read my introductory material, go ahead and read my instructor profile, learn who your fellow students are, and start to look around and see what the landscape is. Then I have a more serious, a graded discussion on what do you see are the big problems from a business point of view facing sport in the next 3 to 5 years. Look out that far and say, here's where I think things might be going and things that we may have to concern ourselves with, because it's going to make a difference in how we look at the finances. No question about it. Things are different than they were a year ago, and they're not what they're going to be 6 months from now. Can't emphasize that enough. So this gives you a chance to right up front kind of look into your own crystal ball and see where things are going. And then, as I mentioned a few moments ago, I have an assignment put together that I would like people to do to fill out essentially right up where you stand. What do you know? Have you taken any accounting courses? Have you taken finance courses? Have you taken economics courses? And don't be ashamed to say, I took economics courses because they were required and I don't remember anything. That's fine. I'm very forgiving about that. I'm an economics major at heart, and I remember a lot of stuff because I was interested in it. All right. And I understand how dry and how boring it can be for most of the population. So, that being said, I think we've got a lot to sink our teeth into. What I really want to emphasize too is, again, go back to what I started out about schedules and things like that. It's my schedule. And my schedule is to be as flexible as I can and to be as accessible as I can. So you do have a lot of contact information available. I will try, after we get the chance to learn about each other a little bit, to set up a very flexible but predictable set of office hours when I can be available. I want to be available to you at all times. We will be selecting material. Sometimes as we go each week, we'll be adding topical things because of the fluid situations I've mentioned. And I think you're going to find it more interesting that way than if we just relied on a textbook. So the fact is, it's going to be either all instructor-developed material or curated material that I'll bring in because we're not using a formal textbook structure and seeing how that goes. So for some of you who have taken online courses in the past, it'll be a fairly simple way to adjust to this one. It's something you've quite seen before. If you haven't taken a fully online course before and you have questions along the way, please ask. Best way for things to happen. Don't assume anything. What I really want to do, though, is create an environment where every time we approach an issue, that at least one of us, after every interaction, whether it be written, visual, on a call, whatever, that after every interaction, one of us, including me, walks away saying, gee, never thought of it that way before. That's really the goal I'm trying to promote. So this has been a little bit lengthy, and thank you for taking the time to listen, but I think it will get us off to a good start. If you have any questions, please contact me at the points in the information in the course, and I'm very much looking forward to working with you for the rest of the semester. Thanks again.